Hello everyone, we are talking Brewmaster in 10.2 today. We're talking over the new tier set bonus, playstyle changes, possible talent changes, and when to break the tier and that sort of fun stuff, or at least when I think we're gonna break the tier and things like that. So let's get right into it. The tier bonus for Brewmaster is incredibly strong and a lot of fun. 2 set. Breath of Fire deals 20% additional bonus damage as Shadow Flame and causes you to heal for 50% of your fire damage dealt. Now, do note, Shadow Flame does count as fire damage as well. Your 4-piece is your attacks against afflicted targets afflicted by your Breath of Fire have a chance to deal 10% extra damage as Shadow Flame, and each Celestial Brew also grants a Stagger Absorb for 100% of the Shadow Flame damage you have dealt, causing damage delayed by your stagger to instead be prevented. This is an incredibly strong tier set that's a lot of fun to play with. I think this is Brewmaster's best tier set currently in 10.2. In 10.2, this is definitely going to be the best one. We are going to be losing some damage from Rising Sun Kick and some Spinning Crane Kick from the other tier set, but honestly, this is just really, really all around solid and a lot of fun to play with. One of the things that I had said, that I had mentioned this on when we were doing a PTR run on stream, and it was, this is just how Brewmaster should feel, or this is how I feel Brewmaster is like currently on live with an augmentation of Ogre in the party. And that is kind of sad to say that this is a band-aid fix on what is currently one of the squishier specs in the game, squishier tanks in the game, I should say. But when played correctly is incredibly powerful, does a lot of damage, and all of that fun stuff. I am still advocating for a small stagger and armor buff outside of raid. I understand in raid, if you buff stagger too much, Brewmaster just becomes broken beyond all repair. I totally get that. But the problem is we need to start balancing Brewmaster from Raid and Mythic Plus separately, and I'm not talking a massive stagger bonus, but there should be a small buff to stagger. It'd be slightly more effective in Mythic Plus than in Raid, and just have more armor in general, because how Brewmaster feels with augmentation versus without augmentation is probably the biggest difference between any other tank with and without aug. But that is kind of the little pit there. This is a stupid strong tier set. I love it to death. You can opt for light brewing, giving you some more frequent celestial brews if you so want, but you're rarely ever going to hit that mythic, the full absorb cap with that, so you could just easily go with Training of Nozao and not have a problem there. I did test out Dragonfire Brew versus Charred Passions, and Charred Passions does win out on the DPS meters, and it is a sizable chunk, but Dragonfire Brew defensively felt way better, because having a red stagger bar Breath of Fire was healing me for easily 40 to 50% of my health bar. Like, if you get a good proper Dragonfire Brew off, because your Breath of Fire damage increases by 100% based on your stagger, so having a lot of stagger and getting that off was just a massive heal. But it dealt less damage in the overall. So that is something that you're going to have to see, but it was also bugged, because there were some runs where Breath of Fire was varying wildly, and it just wasn't showing properly on my details, but Charred Passions consistently won out on the DPS meters, and is going to provide you with more consistent healing, especially in your ramp windows whenever you're spinning crane kicking. It's going to give you that nice bonus, because your spinning crane kick is going to deal extra fire damage, which is going to heal you in that process. But Dragonfire Brew, this, I will say, defensively, this felt way stronger defensively than Charred Passions did. So this is going to be a playstyle difference for how you choose to play and the content that you are running. I will say that the Dragonfire Brew DPS loss, to me, isn't enough of a DPS loss to offset the defensive value that I gained from this. Right? If it meant that I could just survive pulls easier in certain prog scenarios with Dragonfire Brew and lose a little bit of DPS, mostly in AoE, in single target, Charred Passions is going to win out pretty much every time. But in AoE, the more mobs that you can hit with Breath of Fire, the absolute monster truck, freight train this ability becomes for you defensively. So that is something that you're going to want to opt out for. And then let's say, when do you break your tier? Honestly, defensively, you can break your tiers the moment you get your next 2-piece. Offensively, I would wait until you get your 4-piece, right? Because that's kind of where things go. Because your current 4-piece is just honestly stronger, a little bit stronger offensively. Because the increased, the Rising Sun Kick grants a stack of Elusive Brawler, increases your dodge, but then it increases your next Spinning Crane Kick or Rising Sun Kick damage by up to 25%. 5% 5 times, right? So I haven't fully run the numbers on everything, but if you want, you're pretty safe to just break this as soon as you want and just kind of go in. But if you're running under the current playstyle of the old one, and you are actually tracking that and making sure that you're using it effectively, I'd probably stick with it for a little bit longer. But the increased Breath of Fire damage is noticeable. The Shadow Flame is noticeable. But where the meat and juice and all of this really comes is from the 4-piece combined with everything. Brewmasters are getting a Band-Aid. This is definitely a Band-Aid fix from what I had said earlier, but really, really strong and a lot of fun. But that is going to be it for me for Brewmaster today. This is a spec that I am incredibly... I can't wait to play this in Mythic Plus next season. This tier set's going to be a lot of fun. So, have yourselves a good one, everyone. Happy tanking. Bye.